Yeah, we are here. Run, tell that. See, because when we was signed up, I heard Queen Quet come on, and I said, I'm gonna do it like I'm like, boo, I'm a boo, woo, woo. Again, greetings to all of you all. Run, tell that we in the house. This is a one right here. This is a special one right here. Like I said, all of them are special. So this is a special one right here. You got my sister. You got my sister in the house. This is the first time for her on the show. Bam! Elder Carly Town of the Gullah Nation out of Chucktown, Goose Creek, Charleston County, in the house, my family in the house. Then bam, we go right down there to the place I love, Nassau County, Florida. Whoop, whoop. You got Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins in that house, Nassau County. Then, to my people, I'm going to throw something out there. Duval. Got to throw that to my Duval people. Throw that on out there. Then guess what? Got my sister in the house, going way back, who left me in the United States when she went to Brazil. I still love her. She left me straight up in the United States.
Leave them again. And going to leave them again for truth. Going all right. Left them because they ain't know how to act. Honey can run, tell that. No.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why I have trauma right now. This is the reason why I act the way that I do. All y'all, like I tell y'all, it's based on people like that. My sister, my mama, my daughter, my sister, everybody. This is why I act the way that I do. And my brothers and all that. My daddy kept me straight, but that's fine. I'm just saying. So
daddy beat the brands out, y'all. That's what wrong with him. He's still pre-formed though, and that all that water and thing that got all the toxin and thing in them and thing like that. Him been a drink some.
So man, we got Queen Quet here, Elder Carly Town, Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins. They are right here, all tied to the Gullah Nation. What we're gonna do, y'all know how we usually do it, but Queen Quet has to go. So some things, Elder Carly Town, we're gonna come back to you about some of the things, the traditional things we do on Run Tell That, so the people know who you are. But we want to get into something, and why I try to be a little insane right now, a little cracky, because what we about to talk about, this is real. This is serious. I want to talk about some genocide that has happened, because what happened, Queen Quet was interviewed by Savannah Morning News. I was right there. Then also they asked me some questions, and when she put it out there, I said, oh my God, that's what we're talking about, genocide. Yeah. And that is real. And some of us don't want to acknowledge that, but I tell folks, we got to acknowledge the genocide that's happening right now. We get caught up. So I'm going to just throw it out there because Queen Quet, I know we value your time. So I would just ask this question, which goes to all of you. What does 40 acres and a mule mean to you? What does 40 acres and a mule mean to you? And for the listening audience, I ain't talking about the stuff that y'all talk about. Right. I want to know from them.
And Brother Jamal, I just want to say this first, because what you're saying is too vital for the audience not to hear it clearly. Your show started off clear, and then all of a sudden there's some other background sound that's blocking a lot of what you're saying. So your voice is very low on my side, and there's a lot of other noise that's coming to the forefront. And I must say that that is part of the issue that I know you want to talk about here. Is a lot of noise coming to the forefront of what's really going on, that's trying to stop people from their human rights and their land rights. And those land rights start with 40 acres and a mule. They start with Special Field Order number 15 that was issued during what we would say when big shooting been going on and things like that. Other rest of people call them the war of brother against brother. They call it the Civil War. They call it a lot of things. But we know that during that time frame was when a field order, which was a military order, was put out there to say that from Charleston and all the abandoned rice fields southward to Fernandina, down there where Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins is, that all of that land would be issued to, quote, the Negroes. It also made it clear that no whites would have dwelled therein except for in the case of military occupation. Why? Because the military was occupying, because you had the Union fighting the Confederates at that time, trying to keep the Union together. So that was yet another one of those war documents that actually applies specifically, though, to the Gullah Geechee Nation, which goes from Jacksonville, North Kakalaki to Jacksonville, Florida. So when people talk about those abandoned rice fields, they were talking about those same places where that Carolina gold grew, that our ancestors were the ones enslaved to work in, whose knowledge, their blood, their sweat, their tears was planted into this soil. And so that 40 acres that was to be issued initially to our ancestors who've been here and things like that. And so that 400,000 acres of property is what we are still fighting to reclaim today. So when I yet it at, ain't about Spike Lee. He found out way late that he got Georgia roots in his family and all that. It ain't about his film company. It's about the origin of where it really came from, which is that Special Field Order 15, and that we still want we land back right now, today. More than 40 acres is due.
Yes, indeed. And so, Elder Town, Representative Simmons Jenkins.
Well, I'm really thinking about that. And I was thinking, I was kind of looking at the end of it. And if that had happened and they had given us the 40 acres and the mule, I think that would have reshaped America to a more equal country than it is now, because we would have had our own stuff that we wouldn't have to go back and work so hard to get what we got and then pass it on. We have to have money to pass it on. But if we had gotten what we were supposed to get in the first beginning, I just know that we would have been in even a better shape than we in now. That's my feelings about it.
Brother Jamal, thank you for having me. Queen Quet, Elder Town, a pleasure to be on with you. When I think about 40 acres and a mule, what comes to mind is what Queen Quet said at the end, that we really should have more than that. So I'm thinking insufficient funds. A bounce check, basically. I'm thinking about the fact that so much has been stolen from our people since that initial decree was given until we way beyond 40 acres and a mule.
That's right.
That's my thought.
That's right.
And just to throw this out there, and which people know that I share this wherever I go and begin to talk about this. I said, for some of us, what we're talking about right now, we're going to move into about the genocide, that for some of us, the lands that we talk about right now has been in some of our family hands, since the 1800s.
Absolutely.
So for some of us, we talk about 40 acres of mule. This is not something that's some type of little history moment that we talk about, or somebody feeling aggrieved about something. I'm talking about family land that was in our family hands. Some cases, 1860s, 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, 1900s. So for us, right now, when we deal with this issue that we're going to move into with regards to what is genocide, this is what it is. So that's what it's about. That's why I say, so for us, this is something tangible. This is not something that's just intangible or something that's flighty, that's getting something almost like a mythology. For us, it is absolutely real. The land and the waters have been in our hands since the 1800s and early 1900s. So now I'm going to throw it out there to y'all.
Dr. Teray, I want to add something to what you just said now, because you said in our hands now. Now, you know, it was from the 15 and 1600s that this your land, what we to call the Sea Islands, the Coastal Empire, the Low Country and all that, been in we hand now, because we've been the one that mold this soil into this cultural heritage landscape. It's been in we hand since the 15, 16, 1700s. And the people ain't been in we hand for, say, we name on the land till the 1800s. So I want people to be clear on that part right there. It been in we hand in a different way, because we've been the one molding and shaping them and walking them and planting them and the harvest from them. But it been in we hand in terms of the paper, the deed part from the 16, from what you say, the 1800s, the 1900s, like that, and early 1900s, we the crack we teeth about too.
Yeah, it's true. And because I like to throw it out there, because folks like to go and say, I never got it. I have to then say, I tell people, I say, I have to counter that. Because I said, I know what my great-great-grandfather did. That was a part of that. Was going to the deeds, what we talk about, the deeds that are in the hands of our families right now. So I might say, I'm not going to discount what they did with regards to not acquiring those properties that we now are dealing with regards to the genocide that's happening. And so to Reverend Betty Jones, glad to have you here. Queen Quet, Reverend Betty Jones, looking forward to seeing you here in Savannah. Donnie Black, always good to have the support. It's going to be a good show, because now we're going to move into the subject matter. I put it out there and said it straight up. What is genocide? So you all throw it out there. What is genocide to you all? And, you know, out of respect, Queen Quet, because of your time, we'll go with you, and then we'll go to our other representatives and elders.
Every time I hear the word genocide, I am reminded of the third time I went into a male prison. And this was when I went into the male prison that's in Ridgeland, South Carolina. Their school is a feeder to the prison. It's not a feeder into self-sufficiency. And those brothers, and in fact, it wasn't the one in Ridgeland. Ridgeland was the third time, but it was my second time at Lieber. And when I got there, my car broke down on the side of the highway. Elder Town and Elder Halim Gullabimi, God bless the dead, they came and met me to go back to get my car later, because that was my one time I rode in the back of a cop's car, police car. The sheriff pulled up to ask. The state trooper said, "Are y'all okay? Can I help you?" I said, "You can help me, but this will probably sound like a strange request." And he looked at me, and I said, "I need you to take me to Lieber Correctional Institution, because I'm speaking there tonight." That man looked at me like, "What?" He said, "Well, ma'am, I can't leave the interstate, so let me call the sheriff." A sheriff came to the interstate, picked me up to take me to Lieber. This is my second time there, and it's a maximum security prison for men. When I arrived there to do that Black History Month program, those brothers were being brought back to the gym because they said they couldn't keep them in there. We radioed, and they said, "Queen Quet running late because of the car." They said, "We got to put them back in their cell, and then we'll bring them back out when she get here." So those brothers were lined up. They so lined up and so straight, they didn't even see me coming. And then I said, "Excuse me, can I get by?" And they all leveled out against the fence. And they were like, it's Queen, let her in." When I got in, I thought I was presenting to them. They presented to me. And a brother did a song on a piano called "It's Genocide." It's genocide. And it rings in my spirit whenever I hear that word, because they wouldn't let us bring recording devices in there. And he had such a profound voice, and the words about why they were enslaved in there was all about the fact that they arrived there because it's genocide. How they were literally clearing all these Black men out of the households, out of the community, out of the family, to kill us off, because quite naturally takes the male and the female. If we don't have both of us, we ain't creating no more babies. We ain't gonna be around. If you break them down and you take them and put them in prison as chattel again, they're now property. They can't remain property owners because they ain't gonna be out here paying no taxes. If grandmama them, big daddy mama them so free that them boy being in jail, then they gonna put their house up and give it over to the bail bondman. When they can't pay or this joker jump bail, they lose the house, you lose the land. So now what happens? You break her heart, she die of heartache. What happens to the rest of the family? Psychologically, it negatively impacts the family. We start killing each other because you hurt that which is in close proximity. You don't go hunt something down. You do what's right and close by. So now the community begins to be angry, psychologically and spiritually off balance, and that's when the killing begins. And it's easy when people are in economic hardship, spiritual hardship, it's psychological degradation, because they've been influenced by everything but the godly people that they are, the black gold richness that they are, the anointing of God that they have as Gullah Geechees, that now you don't know that me and you are one. So it's easy for you to kill me because I'm not part of you, you see. And so now this thing comes where the bucker them can come in and tell you, well, hey, you know, I give you a little something because, you know, don't you need a little something in your pocket? You know, just, you know, all I need, you know, don't say nothing, nobody, but, you know, you know, if Jamal ain't around, you know, all right, go ahead, do it, you know, down there, you know, hey, I dropped you a little something, you need a new car. All right, so now people go out here and they kill off one another, think nothing of it. This is genocide. Genocide is not a simple dictionary definition. It's not something simple to Google, but every part of it, those brothers taught me in that prison. They taught me how they got there, and they taught me how they don't want to see no more of us in there. So they say, Quet, if you do anything for us, because they did a standing ovation when I told them tonight I got here like many of you got here in the back of the sheriff car, because my car broke down on the side of the road. Those brothers cheered must be for 10 minutes, standing ovation, that I thought enough for them to be there. I said, y'all have had enough disappointment in your lives. I wasn't going to add to it. And they told me, Queen Quet, if there's anything you could do for us besides helping us truly get rehabilitated, is to also tell them brothers and sisters, we want to see them when we come home. We don't want to see them in here. So that's the point, is knowing there's a whole cycle to genocide. So it's a choice. Do you realize that you are one? Gullah Geechee be one. We the one nation. We the one family. We the one people. So you hurt me, you hurt yourself.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So Representative Simmons Jenkins. Oh, okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Again, piggyback on what Queen said. There's a whole cycle. Our genocide began when they stole us from the motherland. That was the beginning of it, to me. You cannot rip a people away from their origins, their traditions, their culture, and do it with the intent that they will survive. It wasn't intended for us to survive. We were only supposed to live long enough to do what they wanted us to do. Our lives were expendable. But God had another plan, because whereas they thought they were wiping out a people and a culture, he used what was put against us to create a new one. It was an outgrowth of the original one. And he created a people who were still tied to their culture and their language. And even though we did not have it in the exact way in which it was originally given, we still have come forward in a way that only God could do. So what the enemy meant for evil, God intended it for good. But that's where the genocide began. Now, have the tactics ended? No. There is still an active attempt to pull out from under us every bit of progress that we make. Every step we make towards self-determination, there is something put in place to pull us that many steps plus back. So we are actively a part of a plan that we are the subject of a plan that is to rob us of economic viability, to rob us of cultural sustainability, to fracture our households and our families. It's all a plan that started way long ago.
That's right.
And my enthusiasm on this subject, and with regard to having these great people, right, these great fighters that I've been in the trenches with and I had mad respect for, I forgot to say, I want y'all to understand, the listening audience, share this information, but do not go and say that they were the ones. Jamal Touré was the one that said this is genocide. So they just respond to the question. So I want to because that's why I feel that it's genocide. So I just go and throw that out there again. I got the little caveat out there because I want nobody come at this and say, well, they were saying genocide. I call it genocide. So to my sister, my big sister, Elder Carly Town, what is genocide to you?
Well, I like
No, is it frozen?
Did she freeze?
Audio.
Audio.
She froze.
Linda.
Oh, there she go. Go ahead, Elder Town. It froze again. She froze again. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say something. I want to pick up on that word genocide. We often think of genocide in terms of there being immediate death, you know, that people are butchered, they suffer various other things. But genocide can also be a slow attempt, a slow killing. So now that Elder Town is back, I'll defer.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was saying. I said when I go to my community, which is in Union Heights, and I see the genocide, and I didn't think about it as genocide until you said it. I was thinking about gentrification, but it is genocide because the people there are being priced out. So the people that have been there and their culture has been there is now, they may not be able to stay there because of taxes, because of these houses that they're building that have will out-tax them. And also the fact that it looks like people are saying, well, we're going to go back and do what we did before. We're going to get them out the communities and we're going to be there. And it's like the people with less funding versus the people with all the money. And they're just coming back in these low income communities and making new things happen in there that the other people, the low income people, cannot afford to do. So I see that as genocide because a lot of people who will not be able to pay those taxes will end up homeless. God forbid, but they will end up homeless because you can't afford to pay the tax. If the taxes was like $100 and now it's going to be $1,000 and you only making like $700 a month. So that's where I see the genocide at. And it's really interesting that what Queen Quet and Representative Glenda has said, it's a progressive stuff. But I do see resilience. I see resilience. I see us building. I see us, those chosen ones those ones that have been chosen are making stronger towns, are trying to make sure that the place that you're living at is resilient. And that's what I think that Queen Quet is doing a wonderful job of that. And we have to take note. We have to take that. We have to take the models that we have and make sure that we make our community strong, the people in our community, because sometimes those people that are outside the community, they don't understand the whole gist of it. They don't really see it because they haven't lived it.
Right. Again, I say this, Dr. Teray, too, because I want to go back in this other direction, because I know probably everybody here on screen, we saw the film Hotel Rwanda when it came out. And when I've been asked about this word genocide before, and in fact, Al Jazeera did a story that was very powerful about the Gullah Geechee Nation and me calling it genocide, what was happening to the Gullah Geechee Nation. And they were shocked that I would use that word. And they wanted to make sure it would be okay to publish me saying that. I said, I wouldn't have said it if you couldn't publish it, because most people are afraid to call it what it is, which is genocide. And on GullahGeecheeNation.com, I then wrote several blogs about the genocidal attacks. And one of them is that you have to get people from within to be weak enough to act on each other. So when Elder Town is mentioning what she's mentioning now, where there was food deserts and other things in Union Heights, and now the people come in with gentrification, as Dr. Teray calls it, regentrification, what I call destructionment. When they do this, then it seems like things are changing for the better, but changing for whom for the better? Because amongst the Gullah Geechees themselves, Dr. Teray, you and I have talked about this. We've done a clarion call for 2 decades to stop the foolishness, which is the very basis of the murders that happened in Rwanda, was people allowing non-Gullah Geechees to tell you, you're not Gullah Geechee. You saltwater Geechee. You freshwater Geechee. Oh, y'all in South Carolina Gullah. We in Georgia, so we Geechee. We Geechee Gullah and all kind of crazy madness that then goes and loans itself to. These are relatives. These are relatives. The horses and the tutus, these are cousins. And now you kill each other, not thinking about your blood consciousness and your blood connection. You now are listening to outsiders who are the ones who benefit from your death, from your genocide, from your removal, from your displacement, from all of these factors. They are the ones who want your land and want to come in, like Elder Town is talking about, and Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins has touched on. This has gone on from enslavement. The Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gola, Gizi, Mendi, Temni, Fiki, Bibio. Don't call them that. Call them slaves. Okay, you start calling them slaves. But then when people stick to their ethnicities, and then you say, well, the Gullah, you use it to sell us, to buy us based on these specific names, because you want certain skill sets out these folk. So you want to make sure the product you buy does the job you want it to do. But then when you realize by knowing our names, remembering our names, that we can remember each other and that we are one family, now you start with this academic division of no, the Gullahs are over here and the Geechees are over here. And then in Georgia, this continued ignorance of saying you're saltwater Geechee. The entire Gullah Geechee Nation is saltwater. We are in the Atlantic Ocean. We're on the intercoastal waterway. Please learn science. I'm a scientist. The whole thing is salt water. The freshwater inlets are few and they are in the interior, and that ain't got nothing to do with your culture. The water is not what is part of your culture, other than to say the water to bring we up and the water going to take we back. It is socioanthropologists, it's Buckra people who told you to divide according to these different terminologies. I don't care what other black face it came out of. I'm telling you the origin point of your genocidal attacks against yourself. So please stop it. We be one. Gullah Geechee.
And some people have heard me say that. And again, I'm so glad Queen Quet has shared this information. And Elder Carly Town, Representative Glenda Jenkins, and again, Sister Betty Jones, Reverend Betty Jones put it out there. Yes, it's not taught to our children. Our children are not getting this information. Alderman Keisha Gibson Carter's on from Savannah, Hilton Head, and Bluffton. And so again, St. Helena. So yes, absolutely correct. That again, when we're around here saying freshwater, Geechee, all the stuff, this is absolute madness. It's about making us be divided so we cannot come together. Or inland Gullah, inland Geechee stuff that I've heard some folks go in South Carolina. And now just to throw something out there, because we're going to move into this definition also, their concepts of this that I remember years ago when Elder Carly Town had us come up there, Queen Quet, we not go to the museum right there on the water. And so then you have Cynthia Porche with the special resource study. She now showing us the video or information about what's going to be in the special resource study about who we are. And I looked at information that was absolutely incorrect about Hilton Head.
Yeah.
And I said, that's incorrect. So Cynthia Porche says to me, talking about, well, Emory Campbell told me that. I said, if Emory told you that, then he was wrong.
Right.
Trying to hold me back because she was going to throw that out there. I'm like, I don't care. When we know our stuff, you listen to us. And then later on, weeks later, she come back and say, oh, Jamal, you were right. I look back at my notes. I'm saying, yeah, but she was going to put that out there to still have us misled. So now that's why I'm rubber stamping what Queen Quet has said. And again, all the things that have been said by Representative Jenkins and Elder Carly Town. So now we move into this. What actually I call resegregation via economics, or called regentification, or called, as Queen Quet call it, destructionment. What is that? So Queen Quet, we throw it out to you because of your time, because I know you have to jump up at some point.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go over here. In fact, to save some more of our property. That's why I'm trying to hang in here as long as I can. But I do need to go to this other meeting shortly because this is the topic. This is that topic. Because destructionment I came up with in this book, as you well know. All right. Yeah. There's a whole chapter in the legacy of Igbo land and Gullah roots of African American culture that is entitled Destructionment. And the centerpiece, or as academics would call it, the case study, was Hilton Head. Hilton Head, because Hilton Head Island is the precursor of the destruction and the proliferation of gated areas and resort areas, retirement places. I don't call them no communities, because it unifies you what you have in common. And we had our culture in common here, and then they tried to disrupt that unity. And so the destruction meant to me is because you are not coming in to better anything. You come in and destroy. The first things you do is bring bulldozers. You take out trees. You take down people's historic homes that were there. You remove anything that you don't think that you can plan. God had a greater plan. Gullah Geechee live in family compounds in circular atmospheres where we all have communal ownership, where we can feed one another from the land itself, where we can go down to the creek. The creek is open to everybody. You can feed the entire village, the entire island, the entire community from that same place and space. You ain't got to be right on that particular family compound to come and use it. You can go get some bull grape. You can get some blackberry as you're going down there, coming back from the creek show and things like that. All of this is our way of life. Our burial areas, if you wanted to go pay homage and do rituals and rites there, that's along the waterway as well. But when you have people moving in, I think of these places of recreation and not spiritual nourishment, not of continuation. Herein lies a problem. And so that is when the destruction of culture comes in. That is when the destruction of the true family basis to the compound comes in, the foundational elements, because the family gets scattered and dispersed. And we now have a Gullah Geechee diaspora because of a lot of that destruction that came in. So that's why I fight with blood, sweat, and tears daily, every hour on the hour, as off as possible against it. As some say now, push back. And because you didn't make this place beautiful, that are the Sea Islands in the Gullah Geechee Nation, God did. And when you come and do all the rest of this stuff that's being done, filling in wetlands and, just so you can put a building there that can't be sustained because the tide come and go, is going to pull out the sand and your foundation will crack and it's going to fall over. Then it falls in the waterway and it's a problem for us all, including the sea creatures there. That is not beautification. That's not something new and beautiful to me. It is destructionment. And we've heard all kinds of terms. Urban renewal. We learned it was Negro removal a whole generation later, because then you found that the community wasn't there anymore. It is displacement on the Sea Islands where you have outright land ownership. It is gentrification in areas where you rent property, which may be some of our urban centers and suburban areas throughout the Gullah Geechee Nation and throughout the United States. For a lot of Black people, there is gentrification. But when you own your property and somebody does some illegal stuff and sometimes legal stuff and taxation to put you off of it, and it's displacement, all of that is part of destruction.
Yes.
Got the word.
Wow.
So again, Elder Carly Town.
Well, I was just listening to Queen Quet because I find that what has happened in my community, they are repackaging the community. And they're not saying it's a Gullah Geechee community. They're saying it's a nice community that's becoming more modern. And it's the fact that it's going to be closer to the city and it's working families. And I'm saying, and then they turn around and rename their realtor company Union Heights Residential. And I'm like, well, did somebody in the council or somebody in the community tell them they could do that? But like I said, they are just coming in. It's no regard to what Queen talked about our heritage or our sacred stuff. No regards to that. The houses are being put on 30 by 100 lots. That's the houses that were there before. But these houses are being put on those same lots on a slab in a flood zone. So I'm like, what is, it's just amazing how people disregard humanity.
Yes.
That's a total disregard for humanity. So that's, and I feel that answers will come, and it will come from the universe, because I don't know if those things that they're doing it's not balanced with the universe. It's not balanced. It's not balanced at all. It's all out of balance because it's coming into sacred areas and putting stuff that are They don't even know who was there or what was there. They don't even ask any questions, you know. And so we got to just keep doing what we're doing, because it's a lot of praying and a lot of work needs to be done. And we're doing it. And I appreciate that, because if we don't do it, some other people don't understand what needs to be done. They just don't seem to have the idea. So I'm so glad that you're having this platform too, because these are things that are in my heart. So that's why we're trying to keep a presence of our Gullah Geechee culture in our community, because nobody else seems to understand that that's important, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Can I say something to Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins right now, because I can't let this thought go with what Elder Town just said. What you just talked about, Elder Town, is called rebranding nowadays.
Yes.
And I always hated the name branding, the word branding, because it's a slavery residual. Dr. Tareka, am I right? Am I right? Okay, that's what they did. They put metal into heat and then would press it into the flesh until it burned and smoke would come off. Our ancestors. So they would do it to a cow, they would do it to a mule, they would do it to you, so that it showed you their property in case you went away and you left off there. Somebody could look at that brand and say that's where you belong. And so the reason I wanted to say this before Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins, because I know marketing and quote branding, she and I have had this discussion many times, how I'm revolted by hearing people say, I'm a brand, I want a brand, because I see somebody putting something into your flesh and burning it in. All right. And I mean, even when we talk about the spiritual part, Elder Town, I mean, the scriptures say you could have your body, you could sacrifice your body to be burned, you know, but that's not what's going to make the difference. The whole thing is obedience is greater than sacrifice. So are we obeying the word of God that made us stewards over the land, or would we prefer to just be a brand and to be branded incorrectly as somebody else's property that they can buy and sell and rename?
Absolutely.
Yes. Very good.
When I heard the word, I was puzzled for a little bit, but then as I hear you all speaking on it, I don't know if this is a definition that will hold up, but for me, regentrification is when the very people whose culture is struggling to survive actively embrace the activities of outsiders and engage in things that will cause the destruction of the community. There are people on the inside of our communities, and I pray to God that it is not a lot of people, but there are people who do not understand the value of our culture. They do not understand anything other than dollars and cents. That's what motivates them. They are always looking for the greener grass. They don't see their grass is green enough. They're always looking to align themselves with Western thought and Western ideology and Western values. They have forgotten the collective values that we embrace. They're looking for the individual step up, and they're thinking about how can I make this community like those other communities, like the gated communities, like the ones that are surrounding us. And they are partnering with people who have essentially taken up arms against us to make sure that we are destroyed. So that's what I think about when I think of regentrification. I think of it as being an inside out activity as opposed to an outside in.
And it's interesting, Dr. Troy, question for you then. Doesn't gentrification come from the gentry, the Southern gentry and the like, which is somewhat British in form, but does it not come from that?
Oh, exactly, that they refine communities, and there's some of the things that you all throwing out there. They try to rationalize them, and we talk about Union Heights, and they talk about how Union Heights is going to be a better community, because what they're saying that the people who are there right now, that that class of people are not the type of people we want to be around. They're not our type. And so what it is, we make the community more refined, we make it more civilized. And a tactic that is used, and something I've shared with folks here in Chatham County, and again, but it applies across the entire country, and I've shared this about places like in Detroit, that what they try to say, when they come into the community, crime is no longer an issue. You no longer have, the neighborhoods are no longer criminal neighborhoods.
It's a lot.
But that's a tactic. You let
Yeah.
crime run rampant. Then if you get people misguided, say no snitching, or they don't have a concern, so they don't even understand. They're playing a part of that spiral to not take you out. Especially you threw out there, Queen Quet. When I tell folks, you don't even own the property in the
Come on
neighborhood.
now.
So the other people who own the property now going to sell the property, and you are not gone. So it's all psychological ploy. And now when y'all talked about they're getting the repurposing, Reverend Betty Johnson repurposing, guess what? There's a community in Cincinnati called Over the Rhine. Over the Rhine is a historic Black neighborhood there. But now they're doing the destructionment, displacement, resegregation by economics. They now calling it, I found out, they call it OTR. That's the name for it now, OTR. So that way you say, we're going to the OTR. We live in the OTR.
Unbelievable.
So, wait a minute. So Over the Rhine? So again, but that's a play on it. And so I'm gonna combine a question, two questions. One is
but wait. I want to go back to your statement on crime. Because I don't know even if you know this, but all of y'all know Dr. Melissa Hargrove, because she was in the Gullah Geechee Nation for 8 years working on her doctoral thesis work. And she's Anglo. So she could go in and out of places and they would talk freely to her that they wouldn't speak freely to Gullah Geechees about this stuff.
Okay.
So what she did was she asked me one time about crime. And I said, well, you've been on St. Helena several years every summer. This is not a high crime rate place. I said, but if you go to Hilton Head, where there's high tourism, there is high crime in the county. And I said, so I'm telling you now, you doing research, go research that and leave me alone. Go research these other folk. And what I'd like you to do is go prior to the 1950s and look up the statistical records for Hilton Head from the sheriff department, and then look after the 1950s when they started gating the area and with the proliferation of marinas, and see if you don't see the crime rate increase along with the number of marinas that came. I told her to do that as a theoretical study, and she came back in shock. She found out that the gated area folks of Hilton Head were underwriting their own sheriff department so that when they would do the crime reports and statistics, they would remain in Hilton Head, so they wouldn't be just out in the public records, so reporters would get a hold of it and it would be on the cover of the paper and in the paper every day. So the occasional crime on St. Helena, there are very few crimes that would happen a year on St. Helena, a little robbery or something of somebody's yard, not even like a violent break in somebody's house. They would blow this up. Like St. Helena was some high crime zone when the highest of crime was definitely on Hilton Head. It did match up with the increase in tourism. It matched up with the increase of marinas and docks, because a lot of the drugs were coming in by water through those places. Then people turning up missing. Y'all can go check it out. People, unsolved cases of people that were missing. They don't know what happened to them. Last time they saw them, they was at the dock or they was in their house at the gated area and they're missing. And so I wanted to touch on that, because sometimes when people hear you say crime and you talk about Black people, they suddenly just think about, quote unquote, the hood. Like in little petty stuff that we talking about, little misdemeanor stuff. They think of boosting and things like that. We ain't talking about that. We talking about what you call white collar crime, and we talking about felony offenses. But these people covered it up because they had the money to pay for their own sheriff's department to not put the money out there, to not let their records go out that the regular media got hold of. So you got to know how the whole system works. You got to know how the whole system works. And you can read her research and you'll see the statistics that she found and all the paperwork to go with it.
Now, I know it's not any of us, but whoever got the phone ringing, you need to mute yourself. I know it's not any of us. So, Mr. Producer, that's what we got to do. Mr. Producer. So, but I want to go and share this, that again, throw it out there to folks that the question is, what are the issues and experiences of displacement, regentrification, destructionment on our communities? Again, because I know because we're from Florida, South Carolina, Georgia. What are the issues of displacement, regentification, resegregation by economics, destruction on our communities? And essentially, I'm going to say genocide. What are the experiences of the issues that we're experiencing right now?
You must be planning on doing a 3-part show again. That's what you sound like.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I was looking at stuff.
I know you don't think we're gonna really list all that here tonight.
But we ain't gonna list all of it. But I was saying to myself, I was like, Jamal, you know, ran into another problem. I like, oh my God, because this is what happened when I have certain people on. This is what happened. I like, oh my God.
Ain't no way to get it all in tonight. But we already started the list. Okay, let's start. Okay, we got folks unable to pay land taxes. They're just ignorant. They're not paying land taxes. So to get displaced, they get removed from the land. You got people overbuilding. They're building into the coastline. They are doing fill and build. That is now having negative impacts on not only the land, but the water in terms of the environmental issues that is now threatening food security because it's causing flooding where there was agricultural land. It's causing ocean acidification where there are bivalves. Everybody like oyster season. We're in oyster season now. You ain't gonna have oysters and crab much longer if the ocean continues to acidify because these people are building these things. You have these golf courses, there's chemical runoff from. You have marinas, there's chemical runoff from them. You have the constant paving of roads. The paving also is something that ends up in our waterways, ends up harming the quality, the water quality. Without good water quality, we don't have human health quality, we don't have seafood quality. So you have all of these things that affect us physically, it affects us spiritually, it affects us environmentally, and it infects our economy and affects our economy because there is now going to be a minus side. That's why minus sign to it instead of a plus side to it. And so we have to think about that when the seafood industry is threatened, but our very lives are threatened at the same time. So when we start talking about sea creatures being endangered, what about we? What about we?
I'll just jump in there and say destruction has a huge role on displacement because what we see are counties who are increasing density in places that were a fraction of as dense as they are now. I was flying in a lift and the driver told me that they had torn down a house in Fernandina and put up 5 in the space of that one. And I'm like, how in the world can anybody do that? So you've got an island, Amelia Island, where the density is increasing, the sea level is rising. So where are them people going? They coming off the island to where we be.
Higher ground.
And then that means supply and demand. So you have people with money who need a place to go, and they're looking at you on high ground. They've already started looking at you. And so then it's like, okay, well, let's plan for this. Let's talk about what has to happen. So you've got the county that's bringing more and more people in. They got one road in and one road out. Where we be? We be on the road. Why? Because they put the road through here because they put it through our property, put it through anybody else's property.
Displacement by
highway. So what are they doing as they bring more people in instead of doing alternate routes on and off the island? They just keep going through the same place, which means they take a piece of your property, they slice off some, then they slice off a little bit more, and they just keep slicing and they keep slicing. The only reason they haven't completely sliced us out is because commercial is on the road too. So if they're going to buy us, they got to buy them too. So now they got to figure out a way to circumvent that problem, which means there's going to be an overpass or something else. They still have not resorted to, oh, I guess we should put a road through somebody else's property. No, they're just looking at us. So we're constantly dealing with the displacement pressure of growth, which you can manage growth. You can have smart growth, but see, smart growth and managed growth costs. And that's not what people want. They want the short path, which is least expensive, which means buying us out at low and selling high. That's displacement.
Yeah, zoning, all those zoning laws connected to that.
Right. Wow, that's deep. Well, you know, as I look in the city where they had a lot of Gullah Geechee churches, and now they're displaced because they can't afford to stay in the city. So the people, the older people, really don't have any church to go to because the church might be in West Ashley, and most of them are sick and they can't drive there. So that's part of our spiritual life that's being disrupted because of displacement, development, and so it's an ongoing process of making sure that people are not where they're supposed to be, especially Gullah Geechee people. And I hate to say that, but that's what it seems like. Because we could do, like Representative Glenda said, do strong towns. They could do good towns where it's a balance, where everybody is equal. That could happen, but it's going to take people with the right kind of spiritual mind to do it.
And not only just the right kind of spiritual mind, but you also have to be forceful. Because we speak one way. So when we the crack we teach about spirituality and things like that, they ain't yet at all. These folks speak money. These folks speak money and they speak power play. And if you are not the type to stand up and speak truth to power, they will sit down on you. And like you have said so many times, Elder Town, that if you are not at the table, you will be on the menu. Well, there are some of us at the table, but we ain't eating. We sitting at the table starving, okay, while everybody else is getting fat off the milk and the honey, because we so glad just to say, well, I'm the black one that they let sit at the table. Well, what good is that? Okay, you are worse than a bump on the log. Okay, you have no use to us. So the whole thing is, if you are at this table, and this table is one where before you is spread the plan, and you see that this plan is going to take out your people, then your voice has to speak right then and say, wait a minute, this is not the place to put that, and I'm going to tell you why. And y'all don't have to listen to me, but if you don't listen to me tonight, you're going to be listening to thousands of us, because I'm letting everybody know that y'all up in this room trying to get ready to displace us. And that's been a major problem for generation after generation. And I love you, Brother Jamal. You know that. Like some people say, I love you as much as I love cooked food, but y'all know I don't eat that much. That's why I'm nice and slim and petite. But you know, but here we go. It's sexism as well. How many men even watching tonight? I ain't gonna follow no queen. I don't follow no woman. I don't diss. But I have found that in the history of the Black community, many times it was male leaders that went in, and I've been told by others who were there at the time that are men. We sent him in to get something for we, and he said, and come out with me. They came out a different door with whatever little brown envelope with a car key or something that they got, and now left the community behind and literally sold out the community for little or nothing, all for male ego. And then the women are saying, well, how you can do that? That ain't right. No, we're supposed to do something for all of us. These women don't know what they're talking about. The man supposed to lead. And then we have that as a problem. So until our community really comes together and stands strong on who has the knowledge, not what gender the person is, but who has the knowledge, and who has the knowledge and is willing to use it for the community, not for just themselves. Like I always say to people, I ain't to do this for me. I to do this for we. I'm a computer scientist. I should be sitting on a stack right now if I didn't do the work for the Gullah Geechee. So the whole thing is, we got to do this for we. Otherwise, ain't nobody else gonna respect us if we don't respect ourselves. So we got to deal with those serious issues. We got to. And my brothers, I love brothers, but I love brothers who stand up as real men for the community, not just say you're a man because you have a certain body part. That's not it. Okay, a man stands up and protects the community and can stand next to whoever the leader is and stand behind them or on the side when you're needed. Play your position and let's win this game.
And I want to say, who has the knowledge and who has the anointing, Queen. This is the problem we're not willing to recognize, is that there are certain people who have been chosen to do certain things. Like you said, play your position. You know, this whole idea that men should be threatened because a woman steps up, and I see this particularly in the clergy. I'm sorry, it's time out for that old school way of doing things where the power structure is centered around men in the church. Men in the church have their place. I don't have a problem with that part, but it is not to say that women in religious and spiritual circles, if they've been gifted to do a certain thing, their voices should not be silenced. Because you know what? If God has chosen them and you don't recognize them, it will not bode well for you. You will not make the progress or have the success you were intended to have if you ignore the fact that God has said there's no male and female. So you need to look for his hand on the person and not the gender.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna throw this out here right now. Queen Quet trying to be funny. She's trying to be funny about something, y'all. Then here go Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins throwing something out there, trying to be funny too. I'm like, listen, I say, all right, because she was in my class yesterday. Representative Simmons Jenkins, she was in my class when I talked about Mother Laura Adorka Kofi, who got assassinated by some Garveyites. But I'm gonna leave that alone down in Florida. See, don't be coming to my class, Sister Glenda. Don't be coming to my class. But I'm talking about some of that. But anyway, going back to something else. See, some of y'all get mad with me right now because y'all know I be debunking this mythology about some Queen Quet. She gonna try to handle me about something because see, there's some information. See, when y'all talk about Thelma, that's Thelma.
Okay.
Thelma, right there at Geechee Kunda. We have a group of sisters at Geechee Kunda who came and said we had confronted those black ministers there, and we said that the plan with everything in Selma was planned by us, by the women, but then y'all took it over, and in the history book they write about y'all in the history. So that's why y'all heard me going to talk about American mythology, but y'all think it is American history, and y'all know I also going to say there is black mythology also that we spit out and see in black history. So when Queen Quet was saying that, I said, look at what she's doing now. See, why she got to do me like that? But now, Alan asked a question about solutions. So I'm going to share this with y'all. Some of y'all who joined us late, what we had discussed, what we had said, that the problem is this, that we're going to have to do another segment. And so now this other segment, which I had already got something scheduled on the first Wednesday, which is December 1st, was Josiah Watson. I'm going to have some other people also, because Josiah down there on Sapelo doing work also in Georgia. So now I got to invite my sisters back for that show too, where we're going to have the part 2. And now I bring Josiah in. Josiah going to throw in a part of that Sapelo element. But Josiah understand it's not just about Sapelo, it's about all of us. Because again, Elder Carly Town, as I shared with you, Run Tell That is the little brother show of all the HR shows. This is what happened often. And so I am thankful for you all to be on the show, because what happened, the time is winding down and they'll be kicking us off the show right now. But I'm going to ask to make sure if y'all can come back December 1st, because we're going to be doing a show with Gilbert Walker next week, the blacksmith, the Gullah-smith, as he calls himself, the Gullah-smith. And so we're going to have him next week. Then Coach Carter and I are going to be doing 2 segments, because one going to be about the central nervous system that run everything. And then also, because some of y'all celebrating the holidays and some of y'all ain't going to be doing the stuff that y'all need to do to try to maintain. So that's why December 1st, we want to have y'all back on. And now and that's why part of what we're going to deal with the solutions, but we got powerful people on here. And so I'm going to give y'all, now I got to say this, because I don't want y'all to get cut off. We're going to give y'all 30 seconds to throw out something that you think the people need to hear on Run Tell That.
Go ahead, Sister Glenda.
The solutions. Someone asked, "What are the solutions?" The solutions.
Right, but we can't get to the solution, but just whatever you think they need to hear.
Yeah, well, that's what came to my spirit is get involved in the corner where you are. You may not be able to do what other people can do, but there's something you can do. If it's nothing more than making sure that you keep hold of your land, do that.
And for Elder Town, go ahead. You wanted to give some words of wisdom to the people before we sign off?
Yes, I would like to just say the same thing. I think that the land is very important, but I think that going back to your community, if you're not there, and helping solve some problems there, I think that would be a very good thing to do. So that's what I would like to tell everybody. go back and fetch.
That's right. If honey ain't know where honey the day from, honey ain't going nowhere, honey the gwine. So I said, work together, chillin'. Don't you get weary, great camp meeting in the promised land. If you look at the national flag of the Gullah Geechee Nation right there, it's human bodies intertwined, ever rooted together, united in this soil. We are the souls of this soil. We be Gullah Geechee anointed people. Keep standing for unity and keep working together, family. Much love to you.
Much love to, again, Queen Quet. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.